I retired at 51, and it wasn't magic. It wasn't a huge inheritance, and I didn't win the lottery. I just took some simple steps over the years consistently that got me to the place that I am today. And the best part about it all is you can start doing these same things this year to get yourself closer to your own early retirement or just closer to retirement. I'm Sabado. I'm just an everyday retiree, and my goal here is to help everyday people like you and me retire early without needing a seven-figure salary. So today, I'm going to share the exact steps I personally took to retire early at 51 and why starting them this year, and this is the perfect time, can put you on the fast track to freedom. So let's get into it. The first thing I did was I figured out exactly how much I needed to retire. I tracked every dollar I spent on groceries, bills, and even those small purchases that seem inconsequential. I was shocked at how much I wasted on things that didn't matter. Knowing my real number gave me a clear target, and that was the first step that I took, and that's the first step that I think you should take. Now, one month I discovered I was spending like $120 on just DoorDash. I think it was DoorDash and Uber Eats and all that. And when I looked at that one revelation, it changed everything for me because I started cooking at home more and making a concerted effort to just stop some of what I call that revenue leak and started putting that money in the savings. And if you're like me, a lot of times what'll happen is we won't save because we're spending on those things. So just by taking that money and not using it, it gives you more confidence to put more money in savings, which is exactly what I did. Next, I started to tackle my lifestyle creep. And those are those subtle increases in spending that come with raises. When you get a raise every year, you get your 2%, your 3%, you're like, oh, I got a couple $100 a month. And we go out and we buy something. I went through a process and I continue to go through this process of canceling unused subscriptions, avoiding upgrades that I don't need because the reality is next year's phone is usually going to be about the same as this year's phone, but they're going to charge you for it and you're going to think that you have money for it, but what you're going to realize is that you're not going to get as much as you need for this phone. So it's a net positive every year. And I didn't really need to do that. And my focus was really living below my means. Even today, one of the major changes that my wife and I made this year, we went from having Verizon, which was costing us about $175 a month for two cell phones, we went to Mint Mobile, and we're getting unlimited data for $35 a month. And in fact, I think next year, because I referred her in that process, I get a $45 discount on the annual amount. But what that does is that saves us over $100 a month just on cell phones. So that's $1,200 a year. So take a look at those things that you're doing that might be costing you a little bit more and see if you can take them out. I know all these early retirement channels talk about avocado toast and living below your means, and it's not everybody that's going to be able to live below their means, but you would be surprised at how many people that I worked with as an executive who were so mired in debt that they had less money than you did on a monthly basis because they had the big house, the big car, all the expensive stuff, the kids going to the special Montessori schools and all of that. So you just never know what another person's circumstance is, but you can control your own circumstance. And these small changes freed up thousands of dollars over time for investments. This, again, created the peace of mind for me to continue to put money into areas where I can invest or making the maximum contributions to my 401k and stuff like that. So start doing this year, and I'll tell you what, your future self is going to thank you for it. The other thing I did is I also focused on increasing my income, looking at side projects, freelancing, just different opportunities that I had. I've mentioned in other videos that I did some DJing, and my DJing brought me a little bit of money. It hasn't in the last couple of years, but early on in my career it did. And even now, I have this YouTube channel, and those little streams make a huge difference. So I'll give you an example. I get ad revenue from my YouTube channel, and I don't make a whole bunch of money for it. But for the year, I budgeted a little over $1,000 or so for golf because I like to play golf, and in retirement, that's what retired cats do. I make about $200 to $250 a month on this YouTube channel in ad revenue. So not only am I able to cover my golf, but I'm also able to not have to take as much out of my investment accounts to cover additional costs because I have this YouTube channel. And it's just a freelance thing I do to share information. Take a look at all of the things that are going on in your life and try to figure out what are the things that you do on a monthly basis that you can monetize? What are some of the things that you do that people would pay you for? When I started the YouTube channel, I had no idea that people would be interested in hearing my story. And now we got almost 5,000 of us here that are interested in learning more about it. And think about all the things in your life that you don't think people would be interested in, that people would actually be interested in. And it may be an opportunity there, or some skill that you have. If you're a writer, if you're a speaker, or if you have some body of knowledge, because the reality of it is stuff that we can do that seems normal and natural to us isn't normal and natural to other people. And I think the more that we start to understand that, the better off others become based on our knowledge, and we can monetize that. Now, on this channel, I choose not to try to charge people for my chats with Sabado. I try not to charge people for my perspectives because I think it's my responsibility to share my perspective. But some stuff isn't within the realm of responsibility. So if I had some skill that was something other than sharing my experience, you bet your bottom dollar I'd probably charge for it to make a little bit of money just to offset some of my other costs because you never know what the future holds. The other thing I did is I really made my saving and investing a top priority. One of the things that I used to hear a lot was pay yourself. And I didn't really get my head around that because I would put $50, $100 away, and I wouldn't see a big return because you don't get huge returns on that. But over time, what you start to see is you start to see that $100 turn to $150, that $500 turn into $600. Then when you start getting up to $10,000, it turns into 11, 12, $13,000, so on and so forth. So I started to really max out my retirement accounts. I started putting money into low cost index funds because I didn't want to pay a bunch of fees on the back end. And I told myself at a particular point that I was going to allow myself to trust compound interest. One of the things that I talked about in a different videos, I had the opportunity to spend time when I was in college with people who had made it, people that were millionaires and billionaires because of the side of town I went to junior college in. And one of the things that I learned is I didn't learn about investing and all that, but I learned that there are processes that people that have money use in order to keep their money. And one of them that I heard about a lot was investing, but I never knew anything about it because I didn't trust the system. Just like many of us on this channel don't trust the system. Once I decided to trust the system because I saw people in the places that I wanted to be actually doing it, then I was able to build that consistency and take heed in that information and build that into my process. And I think that the reality is that the habits really make more impact than the big decisions. The habits are what line up your long-term success because it was just little things that I did in trusting the process that got me there. So I'm just going to tell you, point blank, start building in some of these habits this year. And next year at this time, you can comment on the channel. We can have a chat with Sabado. We can do a live episode with you and I talking, and we can talk about how did that work out for you. And some of you, it may not work out for you because who knows what's going to happen. But by and large, over time, it's going to work out. It worked out for me. And I'm just a dude from the hood that made it to retirement at the age of 51. So that's how I retired at 51. I figured out my number. I did everything I could to cut my lifestyle creep. I tried to find different ways to boost my income. And one of the things that I'm going to mention too about boosting your income is one of the things that I've done every year is I always looked at my job as a annual contract. So if every year I'm not making more money or something's not working or I don't see myself growing in terms of my skill set or I don't see future growth opportunities, then I start to really evaluate, is this a place that I need to be? Now, sometimes you stay at a job because you are growing, because you're learning, you're moving lateral, you're broadening your skill set. But some places, they don't care about you. And so what do? You stick around there just because you're supposed to stay at a job 20 years? Bump that. Keep it moving to the KIM. I invested aggressively. I maxed out my 401k, and if you can't max out your 401k, which I realize a lot of us can't do, most employers provide some type of match to your 401k. At least put in what you can match. If they match 6% up to 5%, then put in 5% of your income, because if you put in 5%, that's another 5% they put in. And guess what? That's free money that you get over time. And I tried to build habits that last. And one of the challenges that a lot of people have, that I know a lot of us have, is just the idea of retiring is a break from a habit because we've had the habit of working. So you want to create habits that last, but don't let yourself be a victim of routine. Allow yourself to look at new information, to think about new information different, but also think about the habits that are going to help you grow. And you can't rewind time, but you can start this year. When I was 37 years old, I decided to get serious about all of my savings. It doesn't mean I hadn't done anything, but I didn't really have an organized approach. I was just putting money away because I was just several years off of being divorced before. And so the idea was, when I got decimated in my divorce, I had to start from scratch. And I started from scratch, and here I am now. So I do think that you have to make it a point to try to change what you don't like in the past, but focus on the future. And there's no time like the present to start. And every small step moves you closer to your own freedom. So, on that note, I'm just going to say, if this video resonated with you, and if you want to hear more information like this, because again, I give it to you straight up, no chaser, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with your friends. Everybody I've spoken to or I've heard from, or you see it in the comments, they share it with their friends, and their friends are like, wow, this cat's just a normal cat that's doing it. Get with the chats with Sabado, and know that on this channel, it's an inclusive space for everybody. I just want to widen the angle in terms of who gets this information, but I don't expect everybody to retire early. But I do expect you to live your best life. So, on that note, have a good rest of your day, and I will talk to you soon.